All right, hey everyone, welcome back. So today was actually a pretty good day. Bitcoin was up, miners were up. We got some good news. I wouldn't say it was good news, but it was at least neutral news from the Fed FOMC meeting today. We'll talk about that. We have quite a few things to go over. We'll talk about that. We have some news stories from Bitfarms, from Digihost, Tesla as well, the FOMC meeting things. So there's quite a few things we're going to go through. Then we're also going to take a look at the miners for their Q4 basically grades. Comparing them to each other. We'll look at that as well. Then we'll get into your guys' Q&A as always. And part of the experience here is not financial advice. For entertainment only, do your own research. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. And has Bitcoin actually bottomed out here in the miners? I'm thinking possibly. I'm thinking more so yes. It's a little 50-50, but I think it's in a higher percentage that we all have possibly bottomed out here. And the reason for that is we had finally a nice break above this 200 simple day moving average here on Bitcoin here. We've had that before though, where we had a nice breakout, but maybe not as substantive as we had today, where we had a nice green candle here. Prior we had bounced below it, then we bounced up above it and then came back down, right? But now I like this nice green candle here. There's also other things that I'm seeing here that I'm kind of liking as well. But Bitcoin was up 5% today. The miners were up at least 5%, 9%, 11%, and more. So today was a great day for us. Greatly benefited from the FOMC meeting and the comments from Fed Chair Powell there. So we'll look at that in a second as well. But right now on Bitcoin here, a couple of things that I'm liking here. Number one, on the weekly, we kind of bounced off the 50-day simple moving average here on Bitcoin on that one. We got close to it, but we bounced, and we were still bouncing from last week into even this week. So that's looking pretty good there. Going on to like the 1 hour time frame as well. RSI, you can see that the RSI close to where it was back here, but price is higher now. I like that reversal. Definitely like seeing that. On the 50-minute side of things, we're seeing the same thing. RSI is getting higher, but price is also getting higher at that point. We're also now where RSI is lower on like 48. Last time was back here. Price was lower. So that's looking good for me. I like this kind of setup as well. Hopefully this will continue on. I want to see this on the 4 hour chart as well. Right now we're not seeing that, at least the conversions on that. We're seeing RSI here at the peak was 68. Prior peak here was higher on the price. We still need that to convert or flip, basically, where we see RSI at the same points in time, but price is going up higher. So need to see that on the 4 hour, need to see that on the daily as well. I haven't seen that right now, just recently here, because when we look at the RSI here at 49, last time we were back here, price was much higher. So I want to see that reverse. Seeing the RSI, same spots, but price being higher. And that's going to take a while. It's going to take maybe a week or two before we start seeing that on the daily even. But right now, I'm loving what I'm seeing here. I think we possibly might have bottomed out in Bitcoin and the miners. The FOMC meeting was good, catalyst for that. The promise of another couple rate cuts, 2 more rate cuts later on this year. I think that bode well, and some of the comments that the Fed made also helped out there. What else we got here? MicroStrategy was up today, right? The miners were up also 7.43% for MicroStrategy. Bitfarms was up almost 7%. BitDeer was up 11.4%. Really good day for them. They've been chopping sideways as well here for a while. Cypher was up 6.62. That one's been going sideways as well. Cleanspark up 5.53. I mean, same as the other ones, going sideways here over the last 2 weeks or so. CORZ was up 8.23%. It looks like it may want to break out a little bit here. This one's definitely been beaten down from the top here with DeepSeek, FUD, and everything else. But it's definitely trying to maybe come back out a little bit. Hive was up 3.7. It was trading downwards, but we'll see if it can get back up. HUT8 has been on an upward trajectory here, which is good to see. It was up 7%. IREN was up 9.26%. Trading sideways here as well. Mara was up 3.81, also kind of trading sideways here in the last couple of days. I think it has bottomed out. It's got pretty good support here right around $12. Riot was up 5.14%, also trading kind of sideways. Wolf up 11.49, trading sideways as well. And then some of the smaller miners here were actually down. Any was down, Argo was flat, Digital was up 7%. So that was good there. Stronghold we don't have no longer. Also DGHI. Changed their symbol, so that's Digihost. They changed their symbol to DJX on the Canadian Stock Exchange and DJXX on the NASDAQ there. DMG was up 8.7%. Mawson was up 5%. We'll take a look at Digihost in a little bit because they actually changed their name. I just looked at the news here earlier this month, so we'll take a look at that as well. And then the ETFs were up quite nicely today, 4%, 5%, 4%, and almost 7% for WGMI. So that's looking pretty good here. Tesla, we got some Tesla news as well. Talking about that one. That one was up 4.68%. So let's get into everything else that we do have here. Bitcoin so far in the month of March is up 2.73%. We're actually getting the green again. Can we finish out the month of March in green? Well, we got a couple more days left to go. We have approximately, what do we got? 11 more days to go or something like that. So hopefully we'll finish out in the green here, but we'll see. Right now it's anybody's guess, but I think it will turn green here for us, or at least stay green. All right, we got a couple new stories here on Bitfarms here really quick. The first one is Bitfarms schedules fourth quarter and full year 2024 conference call. This is going to be on March 27th, so in a couple of days, in about a week or so. So they're not going to be included in tonight's quarterly review for the miners, grades, and things like that. I just give them more time than... well, I give everybody a fair amount of time. They didn't get it done in time, so they're going to be out for it now. Maybe we'll review it when they do actually provide that as well. Okay, so that's happening on March 27th. And then also they had an 8K, or an S8, form filled out today. And this was to do with the Stronghold Mining Inc. Omnibus Incentive Plan. The way I get it here, at least from the explanatory note, is they registered up to 3.8 million shares roughly, almost 3.9 shares of Bitfarms to give to the executive team or some of the members there of the executive team as part of the purchase or the merger with Stronghold. That's the only thing I can see here. It says here the aggregate number of common shares subject to the restricted stock units and stock options under the plan is 1,000 or 1.89 million shares. In addition, the registrant has reserved 2 million here in common shares, which constituted an unused shares reserved under the plan. They may be issued to future awards granted by the registrant. So basically, they're bringing them on board and they're giving them stock in the company right now. That's the only thing I can think of that's happening here. There's a lot of, you can read on further. There's a lot of stuff in here if you want to read that, but I'm not going to go through it. But that's basically what I get out of it. So everybody does this. You bring people on, you merge with somebody, you're going to give them shares in the company so they stay on with the company and help it grow going forward as well. So that's it on Bitfarms. Let's get into the Fed rate cuts here, or Fed meeting at least. So the Fed holds interest rates steady, still seems 2 cuts coming this year. So that's good. Market liked that. Market also liked the fact that they will be backing down or backing off on its quantitative easing or tightening as well. But here's the key points. The Fed, the rate setting Federal Open Market Committee kept its key borrowing rate targeted in a range between 4.25 and 4.5, where it has since December. The FOMC downgraded its collective outlook for economic growth and gave a bump higher to its inflation projection. They talked about, the current economic conditions. They're basically talking about tariffs there. They're not too sure about that, so things might change here going forward a little bit. And officials now see the company accelerating at just 1.7 pace this year, down 0.4% points from last projection in December. And I think that's mainly because of the unknowns with tariffs. And in addition to the rate decision, the Fed announced a further scaling back of its quantitative tightening program in which it is slowly reducing the bonds it holds on its balance sheet. So I think this is what kind of really what the investors really like there. That, and then what else do we have here? Here's the Fed federal funds rate that we've had here. We're definitely much higher, 5.37. Excuse me, we're coming down here to now 4.375, and we'll go down another 50 basis points here by the end of the year. So that's great. And then despite the uncertain impact of President Donald Trump's tariffs, as well as ambitious fiscal policy of tax breaks and deregulation, the officials said they still see another 0.5 percentage point of rate cuts through 2025. And like I said, I think this is what really spurred the market here today based on that. And then investors took encouragement that further cuts could be ahead, with Dow Jones Industrial Average rising more than 400 points following the decision. However, in a news conference, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said the central bank would be comfortable keeping interest rates elevated if conditions warranted, right? So they're going to keep an eye on it, see where things go. And then if the economy remains strong, inflation does not continue to move sustainably towards 2%, we can maintain policy restraint for longer. This is a quote from him. If the labor market were to weaken unexpectedly or inflation were to fall more quickly than anticipated, we can ease the policy accordingly. So depending on how things play out in the economy, they can do a couple of things there, which is, for us, is great, right? More risk on assets as interest rates go down. And then here's the notes for the statement from the FOMC. And these are the changes on it. You guys can definitely look up CNBC and you'll find it there as well of what things have really changed here. The main thing that's changed here is the committee seeks to achieve maximum employment and inflation at a rate of 2% over the long run. They took out, the committee judges that the risks to achieving unemployment and inflation goals are roughly in balance. They took that out and said uncertainty around the economic outlook has increased. So they changed that, and the committee is attentive to the risk of both sides of its dual mandate. Okay, so that's the biggest change there that I think happened. And then obviously the committee will also slow the pace of decline of its securities holdings by reducing the monthly redemption cap on Treasury securities from $25 billion to $5 billion. The committee will maintain the monthly redemption cap on agency debt and agency mortgage-backed securities at $35 billion. So I think that also helped out there as well. All right, let's talk about this. This is kind of interesting. I just saw this before I was getting ready for the show as well. Tesla. I'm sure you guys are following Tesla, or maybe you're not. I'm following Tesla because of Elon Musk and everything else. But there's a Tesla investor that calls for Elon Musk to step down as boss now, as the CEO, basically. You guys may know him, Ross Gerber. He's all over YouTube. He's been on like Meet Kevin and other places as well, talking about Tesla and things like that in the past as well. But the wealth manager, Ross Gerber, tells Sky News that Musk's time has become too stretched and his work alongside President Donald Trump too divisive. I'm not going to get too deep into it or watch this at all. You guys can watch it if you want. But basically, I think Elon Musk can do both. But I think the divisiveness of his tweets and just comments to some people on X and other places, I think that is alienating, well, you could say 50% of his possible customers, which is not a good move, right? As a CEO, business owner, you want to be somewhat agnostic, right? You can't be agnostic completely with Elon Musk, but you can be at least trying to bring people on board to your ideas, try to sell them on your ideas instead of, belittling him, calling him names, whatever it is, and just beating people down. I think there's a different way you can go about it. You can still do what you want to do in the government and cut, all this wasteful spending and everything else, which I think is a great goal, and I'm really happy that he's doing it. But again, I think there's a way you can possibly do this with both things. Being able to do this and still bring people across the aisle to understand why you're doing this, what's the important reasons for it, and things like that, instead of just being negative to them, calling them traitors and things like that. I don't think that's needed there. You're the company, basically, head spokesperson for the company of not only Tesla, SpaceX, Boring Company, the XAI, also the brain implant company. I can't remember what the name of it is right now. But you're a spokesperson on all those things. Your comments will have an impact because they will have an impact on the people that might be looking to buy your products. And if you basically alienate them, you're losing that percentage of the customers there, which is not great. So I think there's a better way to do it. Hopefully he'll learn that over time. I mean, you're seeing people are even crazy, right? They're throwing Molotov cocktails at his dealerships, and I don't want to agree with that. I think that's wrong. If you want to protest him, fine, do that, but don't be destroying property. Right? You can disagree with him on X and everything else, but that's just kind of my thoughts on it. I think he can do both. If he maybe read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, you want to have both people from both sides of the aisle, and you want to have a constructive conversation, I guess, and bring people aboard. Tell them the reasons why you're doing this, why you think it's important, instead of belittling them, I guess. All right, that's my take on that. Wonder what your thoughts are on it. But I love everything else that Elon Musk is doing there. I'm a big fan of his. I mean, one of the smartest people in the world right now with everything that he's doing. But just maybe, trim it down a little bit, calm it down a little bit on the comments on X, because you are alienating some people there. All right, next here, Digihost. So Digihost changed their name to DigiPower X. This is kind of interesting that they're doing that. And that kind of got me thinking, okay, is it because they are working with a small or a modular nuclear reactor company as well, which they came out with a press release on that a couple months back. But it says here, the name DigiPower X reflects the aspirations of our company to be a leader in the development of sustainable energy infrastructure. nuclear is sustainable, right? This change comes at a perfect time as we focus on commitment to diversifying our company's offerings and prepare to power the next generation computing and data processing. Are they going more into this nuclear microreactors? Possibly. Based on this, it kind of makes me think that that is the case. So that makes it pretty interesting right now that Digihost would be doing that. I'll have to read up some more on this because this is, I think, interesting. I don't know what you guys think about that. But here's the press release that they had back on December 13th, right? Nano Nuclear Energy and Digihost Technology Inc. announced collaboration to establish a microreactor technology at its 60 megawatt power plant in upstate New York. So this is pretty interesting to me. And I'll have to follow this up some more as far as what's going on there on it. How much do those nano nuclear reactors or micronuclear reactors provide as far as electricity? I've heard some that do, 20 megawatts to like 50 megawatts. Some could also be like 300 megawatts or something like that. So depending on what nano, I'll have to look into nano nuclear energy as well, some more into them, see what they're doing. But this is kind of interesting. I may throw in a little bit here on them just to see if something works out for them. But yeah, this definitely piqued my interest. I don't know about you guys. All right, so that's all the news that we have right now. I do have some bad news though. I finally got my tax returns or tax what I got to pay in, and it's actually a lot more than I thought it was going to be. So for the next several weeks, unfortunately, I will not be buying anything. I am going to be stacking cash as fast as I can. Otherwise, I'm going to have to sell some shares, which I don't want to do. So I still have basically, 3-4 weeks before I have to pay the income taxes on April 15th, I think it is. So yeah, it's going to be rough. I'm going to have to definitely tighten the belt here a little bit over the next couple of weeks. It's a lot more than I thought it was going to be. So it is what it is. I would have liked to have been buying here, but sometimes life gives you lemons and you got to make lemonade out of it. So that's what we're doing right now. And hopefully I don't have to sell shares. But if I do sell shares because of that, I will let you guys know what I sell at that point. All right, just for full disclosure as always. All right, let's go back here into the miners here for their quarterly miner metric scores. Like I said, HUT 8 is not in here. Well, they're in here in these charts over here, but their financial part of things are going to be like bad because they started in Q4, which I wish they would have started doing that in Q1 of this year. But for Q4, they changed their segments of how they report the revenues compared to how they were doing it the prior 3 quarters. So it's kind of hard to compare them to prior quarters because now things are all mixed in together and it's hard to get the data out. So that's HUT there. Bitfarms has not provided their numbers here, so we're kind of using the numbers for operations, what they have already provided, which is what we have here, but they will not be in the final scores for all these things, okay? So just a caveat there. All right, so on this, we look at quite a few things on operations, quite a few things on, balance sheet, those types of things as well. Financial health. All right, so on here we got quarter-over-quarter hash rate growth. Marathon grew the most here. It was up 16 exahash over the prior quarter. Cleanspark came in second with almost 11.5 exahash, followed by IREN with 10 exahash, then Cypher with 4.2 almost exahash, and then Riot with 3.3 exahash. So those are top 5 there for the growth in Q4. And then quarter year-to-date, basically year-to-date hash rate growth for them. Cleanspark came in at number 1 with 29 exahash being added. Marathon with number 2. 28 exahash, followed by IREN with 25, Riot at 19 exahash, Bitfarms with 6.3. Those are the top 5 there. Total year-over-year hash rate added. So we're looking, this is year-to-date, so where they are year-to-date, right? This is year-over-year, basically, from last year at the end of Q4 to this year, or 2024 end of year quarterly results. Marathon came in number 1 with 28, Cleanspark number 2 with 24.7 exahash, IREN with 24 exahash, Riot with 21, Bitfarms with 9.6. So those are the 5 there. BTC per exahash average, and this probably should have updated this. But basically what we got here is Hive came in number 1, followed by Cleanspark. Then we would have Bitfarms with 52, and Marathon below that at 52.22, followed by CORZ, followed by IREN, 50.5. I should have updated the chart here to be in, from high to low. So apologies for that. Missed that one. So that's the way those stacked up. BTC, how much did they mine BTC here? Marathon 2,430, Cleanspark 1,945, Riot 1,116, IREN 1,347, and then Core 974. Those are the top 5. Sats per share, Marathon number 1 with 755, IREN number 2, 679, Cleanspark number 3 with 664, Riot with 456, and then hash rate left growth. IREN still got a lot of growth here, about 26 exahash. They're at 31 exahash right now, followed by Cleanspark about 10 exahash, possibly beyond that as well. But once we get more info from them as far as what they're going to be doing, we got Riot with about 4.8. Hive probably still has a lot of growth as well. Currently, that has been purchased is about 4.5, but they are targeting to get to 25 exahash by the end of Q3, which would give them approximately 21 exahash of growth, something like that. So they still have a lot of growth there. Hut 8, 4.2, they're going to be growing some more, but we just don't have a lot of details there. That's kind of how that stacks up there. Financials here. Let's see, compensation versus revenue here. On the quarter Q4 numbers. So Cleanspark came in the best with only 6.19% of, general selling administrative costs. Came in at 6.19%, followed by IREN with 12.5, BitDeer at 25, Hive at 27, Core at 37. Those are the top 5 there. Like I said, Bitfarms and Hut 8 are going to be bad because we don't have the data on them. Price to book ratio, Cypher has negative 6.3, Core negative 3.2, but then you got Hive with 0.61, Riot at 0.86, Marathon at 1, Bitfarms at 1, Cleanspark at 1 as well. You can see how those guys stacked up there. Current ratio, higher is better. BitDeer's at 12.6, Cleanspark at 12.6 as well. Those guys are pretty close to each other. Hive at 10.4, Core at 6.7, Marathon 4.9, top 5 there. Difference quarter over quarter, so we want to see that actually increase. So the bottom numbers are going to be better here. So we can see that Cleanspark had a nice improvement here, 8.9 increase. BitDeer 5.3, Hive 4.8, Core 3.8, and the Marathon 0.93. Those are top 5 there for that one. Debt to equity ratio, lower is better. Core is negative 2.94, but Riot with 0.051, Hive, and then Bitfarms, Cypher, Cleanspark, those are like the top 5 there. And then debt to equity ratio difference. Same thing again, we want to see that actually coming down here. And we saw, let me see, Hive had a nice negative 0.9, Core Scientific as well. Bitfarms was, like I said, don't count them. Riot was just up a little bit here, Cypher was up a little bit. So those are like the top couple there as well. And then when we combine all that stuff, growth and financial metrics scores here. For growth metrics, Cleanspark came in number 1 in the quarter, 15. Marathon followed that at 19 points. IREN with 23 points. Riot with 33. Hive at 41. Those are the top 5 there. Excuse me, I had to take a sip of water. My throat's getting dry. And then financial metrics, things look a little bit different here. Hive looks pretty good. Riot, number 2 spot, followed by Cleanspark, BitDeer. In number 4 spot, Marathon number 5 spot. Based on that, combine all those, and you get Cleanspark coming in number 1 spot with 36 points, Marathon 49 points, Riot with 53, Hive at 55, Iris at 57. Those are the top 5 there on that one. And then I weighed the metrics as well. And here's how they scored on the weighted metrics, and I'll explain to you guys how I weighted those here in a second. But based on the weighted numbers, we have Cleanspark coming in at 16.5, so number 1, IREN number 2 spot, Marathon number 3, Hive number 4, Riot number 5 spot there for the 7 metrics for growth. 6 financial metrics, Hive came in number 1, followed by Cleanspark, Riot, BitDeer, and Marathon there. And then here is how I weigh the metrics here. So quarter over quarter hash rate growth, I give that a little bit less, right? So I don't have it like a straight even. I actually downgrade that a little bit. But I do a 0.5 score change on that. Year to date hash rate as well, 0.5. Year to date hash rate 0.5. BTC per exahash efficiency, I give that a little bit more. I want efficiency there. Current ratio, I give that quite a bit as well. Are they improving or not improving on that? Same thing with debt to equity ratio. Growth left, I give that a higher weighted metric. Along with price to book ratio, company or compensation versus revenue as well, right? The ones that are more better stewards with their capital, I guess you could say. I score them a little bit better here. And then we got quarter over quarter DE, that's 1, quarter over current numbers 1, BTC mined 0.5 only, and then BTC per million shares 1 as well. And that's how I got the weighted metrics for all these guys. So when you combine them and look at them comparably, you can see that for both the weighted metrics and the non-weighted metrics, Cleanspark came in number 1. We do have a change here in the number 2 spot between the two. Hive comes in number 2 with the weighted metrics, Marathon and otherwise. Riot, same spot here in both ones. IREN is actually in the 4th spot here on the weighted metrics, but 5th spot here in the non-weighted metrics, and Hive is actually here. And the Marathon is the number 5 spot, where it was number 2 with the non-weighted. Okay, so that's kind of the way things look on those things. So all good things, and we'll continue to churn on with all of these data and metrics and things like that we can look at. Also, if you guys want to have access to these spreadsheets and everything else, link is down in the description. My Patreon membership there, $8 a month. You might be able to find a couple spots that are still $4 and $5. That's my sales pitch. That's all I got for you guys. Not the best salesman, am I? I'm more of a data nerd. I'm not into sales, so that's why I never got into sales. I couldn't sell, ice to Eskimos. All right, that's it. Let's get into Q&A. See what you guys have any thoughts on, questions, or anything else in general, and we'll call it a night. So let's do that. Scroll back here. As always, with the questions, if you guys could preface the question with the question mark or a Q, greatly appreciate that. And I'm going to scroll up here a little bit to see if I got any questions. All right. Let's see. And then we ran a poll here. Looks like 74% of you guys think that the miners in Bitcoin has possibly bottomed out. That's awesome. That's pretty good. Okay, talked about that. All right. Kazas, where's the bottom out for Tesla? I think it's kind of bottomed out right now. It retraced all the way back to where it was before the election for President Trump there. If we look at it here, I've been kind of keeping track of that one. I do like a lot of the stuff that they have happening for them going forward. The autonomous taxis, the Tesla robots, the Omni robots, whatever the heck they're calling them. Other services they could do as well on top of that. So there's a lot of good things happening here, but you can see that they kind of are back to where they were over here, where there's quite a bit of support along this, like 220, 230, somewhere lying around here. So this might have been the bottom for them. And I think that depends greatly, like I said earlier on, how Elon Musk treats his, other customers that are not aligned with him politically. So, but I think going forward, they'll do fine. It's just right now, it's a lot of turmoil right now. But we'll see. But I think it's kind of bottomed out here. I would think at least. We do have some more support here as well at about 175. So that would be the next leg down. I would think it maybe would go down. But we definitely had a nice increase here from the, the presidency pump. Right? So that's kind of what I'm seeing at least. All right, let's go back here. All right, let's see. Riot Platforms mentioned their feasibility study exploring AI HPC at its Corsicana facility is set to finish by mid-March 2025. Thoughts? Haven't heard any update yet. Long live and prosper, Seb. Appreciate that. I haven't heard anything either yet. A feasibility study, right? So what are they looking at? Do you have power? They got power. Do you have a internet connection from multiple sources? Can they do that? Well, I don't know. I think they do. So that's a check mark there. Do you have space to build out for tier 2, tier 3 data centers? Okay, they probably do have the space there. They can do that. Do you have security in place? Things like that. Can they get security? Yes. That's a feasibility study basically. So that should be a no-brainer there. I don't know why they needed to hire somebody to do that. Go, yeah, we can do that. We can do that. We may have to improve on security. That's not a big deal. But these companies want to have their studies done and everything else. So they're by the books. But yeah, I think that they should be able to do that without a problem there. It's just now getting a customer there. Can they get a customer? That's a big question there. What do you know about the Digital Asset Summit Trump is going to tomorrow? Not much. I don't know much about it. I know that Tim and who else is attending that? I think, drawing a blank. There's somebody else that's attending that. There's a big shot there. But yeah, we'll see. Another Trump Digital Asset Summit means another dump back to 82,000, eventually 72,000. Minor. I hope that's not the case. All right. Let's see. Maybe a special dividend on PFE because Pfizer sells entire Halogen stake for $3.24 billion. Maybe. Sarmelin says bottom is not in yet. Sour, what do you think? Are you still thinking that like 69,000, 65,000 would be the bottom here? I think that would still be within play of the mark or the the cycle. I think that would still be in play for the cycle. Okay. Seb, can you please run the technicals on Bitcoin and tell us if there's more pain? I mean, I kind of ran a little bit on it earlier on already. I think Bitcoin right now, I'm liking some things, and some things still have me a little on the fence. So if we go back here, this is on the daily, right? I talked about the RSI on the daily. I'm not liking the setup here, at least right now. That might change in about a week or so when we do have, just on the RSI, if you look at the peaks here, price was higher at that point than it is right now, even though RSI is at the same spot. Same thing we can see on the 4-hour chart as well. Peak is high, peaks are about the same, but price is lower. Want to see that change on the 4-hour. 1-hour chart has already changed here. Peaks where we were lower. Price is now higher at the same, a little bit higher peaks, but still price has gone up, so that's good. And we're seeing the same thing on the 15-minute chart, right? Peak, price higher. Peak, price higher, like seeing that. And then peak, price higher again. I like seeing that. So as long as those hold and we get a switch on the 4 hours and the daily, that'd be great. On the weekly, we can also see that Bitcoin has bounced off the 50-day simple moving average. It has done that in the past as well. We saw that back here, then it went up, came back down, tested it twice, we went back up. So maybe we do test it one more time and go back up, or we just continue going back up here with a little bit more confidence in, I guess, investors that we're going to possibly get to the 2 rate cuts later on this year. I think that bodes well. But only time will tell. I mean, we had a nice day today. We got Bitcoin up above the 200 simple day moving average. We got a nice close above that. So we'll see if this can hold. If the 200 simple day moving average now becomes support instead of resistance, like it has been here for, what has it been, like 7-8 days, whatever it's been. If we get it as support, that's a good sign as well. All right, let's go back to the Q&A. All right. Let's see. Will Mara ever see $30 again? What would BTC need to be at $30, $40 again? Well, I mean, Mara's right now at, what's it at? Let me scroll over here. It's like $13. Mara, $12. $12.50 right now. That's a 3x for it. Currently, with Bitcoin being where it's at, I think Bitcoin need to go 2x for Mara to get back to those levels, possibly. It also depends on how investor sentiment is, right? Do the shorts cover the Bitcoin starts going above 115, 120,000, or do they start even covering now maybe? You know, that's a lot of unknowns. The Minor Digion says 75,000 lower until any big turnaround. HTF demand is at 68 to 72. This pop is just ranging between local supply and demand. Too many get way too excited prematurely. You might be right there. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. Nobody can really tell where things are going to go in the next hour, let alone what's going to happen in the next couple of days or a week. So there's always that possibility. But it's just nice to at least get above certain support levels, seeing things changing. I like seeing those. All right. Jackie says, I think BTC is turning around and will hit 100,000 by end of March. That would be great. End of March being at the end of March, that'd be the end of the first quarter. That would actually make Bitcoin be higher than it was at the end of Q4. That would bode well for the miners that have HODL positions and use FOSB. So that would be great. Okay. BD2 says, think for the miners to get to a certain price is more relative to their ability to make a profit and forecasted profit. I would agree with that partially there as well. All right. Do you agree, with Elon Musk that Canada isn't a real country? No. I mean, that's just, to me, that's just silliness. I think it's more rhetoric, more fire to use as a negotiation tactic or something like that. If for whatever reason the United States takes over Canada and Greenland, that's, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be the end of the United States, but it's definitely not the beacon that it used to be for, equality and fairness and respecting borders and things like that. Unless, 3 years or 4 years from now, somebody else comes into the office and changes things back. I don't know. But I do not, I'll just leave it at that, I guess. All right, question, is Tesla a real company? Maybe for now. Tesla's a real company. I mean, but maybe for now? Yeah, I mean, they're a real company. So you are taxed even if you don't cash in. It's crypto like an investment. You're taxed even if you don't cash in. Not if you, well, if you cash out, if you sell, you trade or something like that, then you're getting taxed on it, right? All right, question here from B82. Is Trump's statement, all BTC to be mined in the U.S. hurting Hive price given so much of their growth is non-USA? I don't think it's that. I think it's more that they are not domiciled in the United States, which they have changed here. That gives them access to more liquidity in the U.S. market specifically. Gets them to be allowed possibly in like some of the indexes as well. That should help. But I don't think it's that. I mean, not all Bitcoin's going to be mined here in the United States. The rest of it, I mean, we've already mined like what 90% of the Bitcoin already. We're at 19 million Bitcoin mining or whatever it is right now. So that's that's just all pop and stance, I think, because that's just not going to be possible. There's a lot of countries out there that are still mining it. China is still mining some, other countries as well. So it's all over the place. But the United States at least has like a 30% market cap, if not a little bit higher right now. Okay. Question, do you think having a hybrid of AI, HPC, and Bitcoin mining is the best way forward for the miners? It might be if we have a continuation of the cycles we've had in the past, where we had a huge boom and a bust, right? Bitcoin goes down 70%. Then the ones that have HPCI plays can kind of smooth that out because they are getting a more sustainable revenue stream, right? They're getting it's set more or less, unless they lose a customer or something like that. But for the most part, it's even, right? And it's known. With Bitcoin, a lot of it is unknown. The only thing that might change that is if we have an extended cycle this time around where Bitcoin does go up, 80, 90%, falls back down 30%, 35%, whatever it is, and then goes back up another 80, 90%. And at that point, maybe the miners that are actually still mining might actually do better. I don't know. We haven't been through that cycle yet. I don't know how to, let me run some numbers on it, try and figure that out, how that would play out. But I think that's the only way that maybe like the pure play Bitcoin miners might actually outperform some of those that are getting the HPC AI business. Because that business, even that one, we'll have to run the numbers. But I think like I said, I think if we have an extended cycle, the miners that just mine Bitcoin might do better, maybe. Okay. Will you be putting out an all-in cost per cost for different miners from Q4? Yes. That will be coming out once we get Bitfarms numbers in. So, and I'll explain to you guys how I get those figures as well, what we're using for that, as always. And then that's just kind of, it's not an exact number, but it's at least gives us a ballpark that we could be within, 10% up or down, something like that. All right. Let's see. Thoughts on the global liquidity 70-day offset versus Bitcoin chart that's been going around on YouTube? I haven't looked into it that much. I saw it on somebody else's channel that they talked about it, but yeah, I haven't really looked into it. Let's see. John says the Fed stopped quantitative tightening is a big plus. Yeah, that is a big plus. That's why the market liked that. All right. Paris says bottom was at S&P 550. If you missed it, you're sleeping at the wheel. Okay. Yeah, I think the bottom is in possibly. Historically, has BTC priced averaged more or less than the cost to mine each coin? What about since the previous halving? All right, let me see. Historically, has BTC price averaged more or less than the cost to mine each coin? Okay. So depending on the company, right? Some companies are a little bit lower on cost if you're just looking at cost of electricity, right? When you include everything else, the cost becomes much higher. But using at least like cost of electricity, Bitcoin, I would have to think. I'd have to go back to when Bitcoin bottomed out at 13,500, if that was possibly the bottom for some of the miners that were mining it. And maybe, because we were at 6.25 BTC, I'll have to run the numbers, but I think that's kind of like where it bottoms out, is kind of where the cost to mine is, because at that point you're going to have miners coming offline. So that might be something to it there, but it does, that's with prior cycles, right? Where we go up huge and then come back down. And then we kind of bottom out at right around that price point, I believe. All right. Hi there, guys. Says, this week is the quad witching. Tends me to around narrative trend changes. Tends to be around, okay? To be, yeah. Hi, Sebastian. Thoughts on Bitdeer? Do you think is one of the most minor with upside by end of 2025? Possibly. It's had a huge run up here recently. I mean, we can take a look at the chart here on Bitdeer. Where are they at? Bitdeer. There they are. Okay, let's take a look at the chart here. It had a huge run up here last year, right? It went basically from November. It was kind of flat here more or less during the summer months or even beginning of the year. Went up a little bit here towards summer months, then came back down. But it had a huge run up from here up to here, was up 400% almost in the span of about 123 days or 84 trading days. And then it has come back down like everybody else here pretty much has. And it just retraced to the bottom here, was about 66% on. Do I think it could have a really good year? Possibly. It would depend on how many of their ASICs they sell to other users or other customers. It would also depend on where Bitcoin goes. Can they also execute on their growth? They do have quite a bit of growth here in the second half of the year as well. On it, the only thing that is kind of a negative there is it's, I believe, a Singapore-based company. Right, so there's a lot of people that are skittish on that a little bit, rightfully so or not, I'm not sure. But that's always a concern a little bit there. But I mean, it's done a great job here. If it can go back to where it was, doing just a 2x to 2.5x from here, I think a lot of people would still be happy with it. But yeah, I don't know. I do like what they're doing there, right? Their own ASICs, they're going to be growing quite a bit. They have a huge pipeline of growth into 2026, into even 2027. But that depends where Bitcoin's going to be at that point. All right, go back here. Right, let's see here. Where do you think Bitcoin needs to be before Cleanspark gets to $15 and then $20? I think we need to get Bitcoin to like 125, 150,000, somewhere around there. That's kind of where I would think. All right. When do you think Mara will announce their next ATM? That I don't know. They're probably running through it right now as it is, but I don't know. All right. Your price target last year for Cleanspark at BTC 170 was 5060. Is that still the same target for you, or has that sentiment turned bearish? Well, it hasn't turned bearish. It has turned down, I will say. And the reason for that is the dilution that we've seen here, right? The miners haven't also performed quite what I thought they would do. But if Bitcoin starts going parabolic quickly here in the next couple of months, we could see the miners follow suit. So, I mean, is there a possibility they could get to that point as well? There is. There's always a possibility. It just depends on the sentiment in the market and how well they take that sentiment from investors also. So I'd love to see if it happens, but I'd be happy if they get to like $30, $40, you know, so. All right. Do you see the U.S. government purchasing miners for in-house mining for its SBR? I do not, no. I do not see that happening. All right. If Mara maintains a 7% of hash rate, will their future price be more related to HODL or yet to be mined coins? Well, I mean, right now their valuation doesn't seem to mimic their HODL or, well, maybe it's more on their operations than HODL, or it is more HODL than their operations. Hard to tell which way they're being valued by investors, because we talked about this yesterday, if you include the enterprise value plus their HODL, compare that to their market cap, it's, there's a big deficit there. So they're underwater, or at least being valued underwater for that reason alone. So I think they should be valued much higher than where they are right now. They're not getting love on the HODL, and they're possibly not getting love on the operations as well. But their operations have been improving. So they should start getting both, I would think. All right, let's see. KT says, Hive has the most exahash growth scheduled for 2025. So should it run like 2024 miners who had growth? Maybe if they can also get their costs under control for mining Bitcoin, right? Their cost right now as of Q3 was kind of high. It was like right around, I think, 70,000, I think, something like that. So if they can lower that, I think that would help out as well. Getting to domicile in the United States should help them as well. And then just, yeah, they got to execute on the growth. They got to we need to see that growth happening here, right? Historically, they haven't grown that much. They've been, kind of slow and steady. Half a exahash here, 1 exahash there. But we need to see that growth. We need to be, it's one of those things where it's trust but verify, right? Okay, great, you're getting into 25 exahash, perfect. All right, but now I need to see that being verified that you are on that path to do that. So maybe when they do that, they might do better here. But I definitely like seeing the growth that they're having here. All right, Let's see. MA has a question here. Would it be possible to submit questions beforehand? It's late in the UK, and I was able to catch the stream due to insomnia. However, usually it's difficult. I appreciate that. Is there a way you can ask questions beforehand? Hit me up on X if anything. Send me questions there if you want, and then I'll try to remember to look at those questions as well when I do the streams. If you send me a question, I'll try to do that. Okay, and I hope so you get some sleep as well. Let's see here. Seb, when will you get bullish again and talk about specific price targets for Cleanspark, IREN, and others? I'm still bullish, right? It's definitely come down as far as expectations have been concerned because of what we've seen here in the last year. Cycle has not played out like or at least I thought it was going to be from prior cycles. But yeah, I'm still bullish on these guys here. I still think that they will do very well. Maybe not as well as I thought they're going to do. But yeah, I'm still bullish on them. I still own them. I haven't sold anything here recently. I've been buying actually in the past. Well, I haven't bought anything like the last 2 to 3 weeks, but I bought before that. And then I'd love to buy right now, but I gotta pay taxes, so I gotta save cash. All right. On the last press release, Ben said Bitfarms will have 1 gigawatt of HPC AI. If each megawatt generates 100 per hour, at 1 gigawatt, Bitfarms might be able to generate 870 million per year plus BTC mining and electricity costs. Okay, that's what if, right? What if they get this? What if a lot of companies are talking about the HPC AI? If they get the customers, where are the customers? I need to see customers. It's been almost a year now about everybody talking about getting these hyperscalers and everything else. Where are the customers? So again, trust but verify with any of these guys, like I've been talking about in the past. It's okay. CORZ got a huge deal there. Turbo had a pretty nice deal as well. Digital, pretty nice deals there. Some of the other guys are playing with smaller companies, making $1 million a month, plus or take a little bit. So I need to see definitive contracts with big players to go, okay, they're getting it finally, right? But right now it's just, yeah, we could do this, we could do that, but it's anybody's guess right now. All right, Gary here. If Bitdeer comes out with 5 joules per terahash miner by the end of 2025, does math work for IREN and Cleanspark to buy new miners before they depreciate the miners they bought in the last year? Depending where the network hash is going to be. Because even if at 5 joules per terahash, that's pretty good. But again, is that in low power state mode or whatever they're calling it, energy saving mode? What is the numbers? That's why one thing I talked about yesterday's video also, I think it was with Stronghold. Bitdeer was, I like that they're putting out some information on the miners, but I'd like to see a little bit more just to get some better understanding of it. So it all depends where the network hash rate goes. If the network hash rate, right now it's kind of flat for the last couple of months, which is kind of good for the miners. But depending where that goes, how quickly does that increase? And also it'll determine how fast and how many can they sell of those things to put on the market, right? What kind of an impact will those things have when they do get out there, right? If they sell 15, 20, 30 exahash of these miners, whatever it might be, or even 50, that might not be that big of a deal. If they sell 300 exahash of it, okay, then it's going to start to be a deal, right? Where those things are going to start driving the economic viability of some of the older miners down, where you might then want to, possibly look into it. But also depends where price of Bitcoin is at. There's a lot of variables that go into it, unfortunately. Let's see. Can you give us your latest short numbers on the miners, please? Yeah, we might be able to do that. Let me see here if those have been updated here. The last ones that I have on these guys was from the mid of February. And we do have data from, okay, we'll do that tomorrow then. We'll look at the latest short data on the miners here. I got data in from the end of February. So we'll do that tomorrow. Thank you for reminding me on that one. All right, where am I at here? Okay, there we go. Question, do you understand why Hive's cost to mine was so high? They had older generation machines still that they were changing out. I believe that's part of it. What else was there? I would have to look back into it, what wasn't attributable to it, but that's the main reason why, right? Not a lot of hash rate growth with them, even though Bitcoin price was going up, and that's the reason why. Star Milling asks, how low will the miners go? I don't know. I think we maybe have bottomed out here. Depends on Bitcoin. A question, February showed an improvement in Bitfarms mining performance, better hash with lower energy use and growing their HODL. Do you think they can snap back with other miners? Possibly, but again, it's one of those things, right, where we've had a number of months where we were being promised that 21 exahash is going to be there by the end of the year, 2024. That didn't happen. Then within a couple of months before that happened, they said, well, we're going to be, getting 21 exahash by the end of the first half. And then a couple months later, we were told, well, we're going to be getting to 18 exahash, right? So it's one of those things where they need to actually execute on their promise and their goals, targets, and then I think they will be rewarded for that. Let's see here. Who do you have winning NCAA? I have no idea. I'll probably ask Grok on that one. Who does Grok think they're going to win? But I don't follow NCAA. I used to be big into basketball when I was younger, when Jordan was playing. That was, a fun time to be watching all that stuff happening at that point. It was just exciting. I've watched a couple games here recently, just on the NBA. It's like 3-point shootout. There's still some excitement, but it's not like it was back then. So kind of lost interest in basketball here over the years. All right, guys, that is it. We're all caught up on that. We're going on about 15 minutes here. We're going to call it a day and get back in the swing of things tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll cover the short data on the miners. We'll pull that in, and then anything else that happens along the way with Bitcoin miners, see how they do tomorrow. Hopefully it's going to be a good day. We'll see. All right, but that's it. Really appreciate you guys coming in as always. Thank you so much. Love you guys all for tuning in here every night. That means the world to me, so I do appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a wonderful night. I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, see ya.